Jackie, stand by for a second. I want to bring in Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the RNC. Thanks for being here with us.
Thanks, Richard, for having me.
Hey, let's start with this, Sean. Moving the convention up in terms of the calendar, cutting the number of debates, changing some strategy on taxes, clearly here, at least in the plan that we've seen. But is it more the positions the candidates have on the issues?
Well, candidates obviously matter, and the way that they articulate those positions matters. What we've got to do is, as a party, put together the mechanism and the infrastructure so that our candidates can run. But as you pointed out, I mean, the way we communicate those things and the number of people and the diversity of the people that we communicate them to matter. So we've got to reach out more. We've got to do so in a way that resonates with people, and that's how we're going to move forward.
Now, Reince Priebus, very frank about what the report said. You know, in the report, as you've heard so far, Republicans are called the scary, narrow-minded, and out of touch, if you will, and stuffy old men. Do you agree with that assessment?
I don't think we're the stuffy old men. I think I'm, fairly young, vibrant guy. But I think at the end of the day, it really, look, perception matters. And if that's what the American people and the voters, and in particular Republican voters, think of our own party, then frankly, what I think and what Chairman Priebus think isn't so much important as what we do to change that perception. Mm-hmm. So we did a series of focus groups. This report details the work and the input of 52,000 people from around the country. So if those perceptions are what they're communicating to us, then it matters, and it's something that we have to address and change.
Well, in the report, it mentions Latinos, for instance, some 100 times, African Americans as well, 73 times. What do you need to do? Change the faces here to reflect more of what America is? Basically what Jackie was alluding to here, bringing in perhaps more diverse faces?
Absolutely. We've got to, and frankly, we just haven't done a good job before. We've at times built up the number of folks doing quote-unquote outreach at the national headquarters, but for the first time, the chairman is putting together a substantive plan, $10 million to deploy staff into communities throughout the country, so that we're talking about building relationships in Latino communities and African American communities and Asian and Pacific communities throughout the country, so that the first time that they hear from us isn't days or weeks or even a month or so before an election, that they've gotten to know some folks. They've seen some familiar faces that share their principles, that talk about how our policies impact their families, and I think that's something that we're committed to doing and that the chairman launched today.
Talk about faces and getting in earlier, the report talked a lot about, young Republicans. It says on messaging we must change our tone, especially on certain social issues that are turning off young voters. In every session with young voters, social issues were at the forefront of the discussion. Many see them as the civil rights issues of our time. We must be a party that is welcoming and inclusive for all voters. So, Sean, putting aside how candidates look, does that mean you will look for candidates who are more accepting of things like same-sex marriage?
No, what it means is, and this goes back to something that Ronald Reagan both said and practiced very, very well when he was president, which is, my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy. The principles of our party are sound, and this is not a question of how do we change the party or the principles. What it is saying that we as a party, if we want to grow and if we want to win and govern again at the presidential level, we've got to look at times and say, hey, you may not agree with us on every single issue that the party has put out there, but we're willing to include you in the party as long as you understand where we stand.
Doesn't this conflict with some of the messaging we have heard from CPAC over the weekend, though?
There are probably some speakers at CPAC that don't believe otherwise, and I would argue that while CPAC represents a good amount of people that believe in the Republican Party, CPAC is not the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is not CPAC. So I appreciate all the work that they do out there, but that's one part of the party. It's a great part of the party, but we're not synonymous.
And as the first words for the report say, the GOP today is a tale of two parties, and we'll see how that goes. Sean Spicer, thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, appreciate your time. Let's bring back Lynn.